Right, so I want to share a couple of things with you at this moment for those students writing the strategic case study. I believe that you have thoroughly started going over it, and I want to just share a couple of things with you that is critical to the exams. And if you look through the case study closely, you realize that one of the things you must note is to critically assess the company. Now, when you critically assess this company we have here, I think the name of the company is Ghanalux Limited. If you critically assess this company, you realize that there are a couple of issues with the company. They have problem with their working capital. It's an insurance industry. They have problem with generating a lot of profits. However, they are paying themselves couple of dividends even when the company was making losses, and there are a couple of strategies that a company want to implement, and you need to find out which of the strategies will be suitable, will be acceptable, and will be feasible for the company based on your assessment of the company. So that is also something critical that you need to look out for, something critical that you need to find out when you are looking at the question. Then also you need to look at the class of customers that the company is looking at. If you look at it, basically or currently, the entity has its majority or almost its customers from the is it northeastern? Let me just get that for us. That should be somewhere here. Yeah, so mainly the northeastern states in the United States. Now, in case you don't know, the states that are the northeastern states in the United States, they include cities such as the New York City, Philadelphia, Washington D.C., Boston, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey. These are a couple of the countries there. So if you check these countries closely, you realize that majority of these countries have a lot of A-class communities that people are coming from there. So that is the kind of customers that the entity is dealing with. Then the issue also about one thing I also want to bring to your notice has to do with how the entity is getting its customers. Now, primarily, if you read a case, you realize that the entity primarily get its customers through a travel booking company, which is in the US, so they advertise their service there, and so through that, any clients they get, the booking company, the travel booking company, receives a fee, that which is a percentage of the price that Ghanalux Limited charges its customers. So in the case you were not provided or you were not given the issue in relation to the percentage that they are charging, but it could be something higher, and it could be something that you can consider or you can look out for in relation to that. Then one thing also you need to understand is about looking at the finances of the company. So you should be able to distinguish or look at the issue in relation to how are the finances of the company is. You realize that there are a couple of issues in relation to the capital structure of the company. You realize that currently the company is owned by 8 founders. I think majority of the shares of the company, are owned by the 2 founders, that is Adolfo and Kofi. They each own 40%, and the 20% is owned by their family members. And even though these people are majority shareholders, one of the limitations that they have is, even if the company is making losses, they still pay themselves dividend. Can you imagine that? And it tells you the caliber or the kind of managers they are, that it's their own company, and the company is making losses, and they still have the guts to pay themselves some dividend. That is something that we need to look out for. Now, it tells you that even though they are entrepreneurs, they are not really entrepreneurs, because they should be able to have the guts to put back the money into the business. But that's something that you've got to understand about the ownership, and also how dividend of the company is paid. Then you've got to also understand the overall performance of the company, and how things are structured in the company and by the company. Part of the case, the case reads that the company has developed some code of ethics for the employees, that guides how employees are supposed to behave, employees are supposed to carry out their work. And not only that, also there is something in the case also that indicates that many of the employees don't adhere to these code of ethics, or there has been a couple of breaches of these code of ethics, and it's getting worse. And if it is getting worse, then it is something that we have to consider as strategists or as consultants, if we are being asked to do something about or to talk about the company. Then the case also gives us a preview of the tourism industry in Ghana. Primarily, it tells you what is happening in the industry, a couple of risk factors in the industry, a couple of threats in the industry, and also a couple of opportunities in the industry. So right there, right now, you can distinguish and find out about how the industry is going, whether it's a maturing industry, whether it's a new industry, whether it's a developed industry or an underdeveloped industry. I think during the case, or within the case, we saw that the Ghanaian tourism industry is still underdeveloping. All right, it's still underdeveloping. So that is something that you've got to consider, as well as somebody who is considering the case in relation to that. Then, in addition to this, the examiner also, or the case, let me not talk about the examiner. There was a paragraph about decision making. We see how I structure these things up. Decision making, and that aspect of the paragraph or of the case, that segment of the case, gives us an understanding of how the organization is organized, how authority flow within the organization. We saw something primarily that the organization doesn't have any formal organizational structure, and they are now trying to raise some concerns of that, or they are now trying to bring that something like that. And even that one, they are a bit divided on that, because I think that is seen in a paragraph titled Ownership and Organization Structure. We saw that one of the directors was suggesting that they should appoint a non-executive director, and one of the directors was also suggesting that they should appoint an executive director. This is a decision the business is making, and so you must look into it and look deeper into it. What are the roles of non-executive directors? What are the roles of executive directors? And looking at where Ghanalux Limited, that is the company in question, is, what do they need at the moment? Do they need somebody from outside, like a non-executive director, or somebody from inside? You need to weigh the advantages, the disadvantages, and the roles that they want these people to play. Because from the case, we understand that Adolfo was suggesting that the company should appoint a non-executive director, and so that non-executive director will help the board in strategy formulation, which is critical to the success of every profitable organization. However, the other owner, that is Kofi, disagrees with the idea, and he thinks that the organization doesn't need a non-executive director who help the company in strategy formulation, but the company needs an executive director, and he even suggests the mode of the employment of that executive director. He suggests that should be somebody that they choose from their tour guide. All right, so the appointment of the people is also something that you've got to look out for, and the objective of Kofi suggesting that the entity needs an executive director selected from their tour guides was the fact that it will help to motivate the employees for them to, quote unquote, stay with the organization, because they know that if they do